lessons I want you to take away from this show. Child molesters charm their victims into trusting them, and they can often do that because they're close family, friends, or relatives. And many of them really, truly do not believe that they're doing any harm because they don't think that they're causing pain. Their goal is to bring sexual pleasure to the child so the child can then bring sexual pleasure to them. And that is why it is so hard for you to save your child. It's a calculated dance of seduction. Listen carefully. Let's talk about the grooming process, because I think I was 42 years old before I recognized that I'd been groomed. So I think if we can save one person out there who has been molested and is still blaming themselves, or who doesn't understand that you guys are pretty conniving, manipulative, and actually smart in your seduction abilities. So how were you able to seduce? How did it start?
Give them back rubs and foot rubs, and get them used to physically being touched, and it kind of creates a bond.
Getting them used to your hands being on them.
Exactly.
And them trusting that, so that by the time you reach for a breast or you reach for the genital or whatever,
yeah,
it's easier. You're shaking your head because
that's very much how I initiated my grooming process. Is I would listen to her, and then I would listen to her with my hand on her shoulder, and then we would cuddle on the couch together, and then priming her for me to be physically intimate with her.
Very much like a couple on a first or second date, is it not?
Right.
Darren, what do you want to say?
I knew it was wrong, but I justified it in my own mind by saying it was a special thing between us, and I wasn't hurting her.
We've heard people say, even publicly, I would never harm a child. You thought you weren't harming her.
No.
You thought you were doing what? Bringing her physical pleasures, what do you say?
Physical pleasure.
And you thought the same thing, Lee?
Basically the same thing. I truly believed I was bringing her physical pleasure.
And that because it was physical pleasure, that made it okay. I'm saying at the time you thought that.
Yeah, because she was pleasing me and I was pleasing her.
You didn't think that you were a disgusting old man? You didn't think that? No, seriously, Lee. You didn't think at the time?
At the
I'm a
time,
disgusting old man.
after it got started, yes. After I started it, to me, it was just too late to stop.
Why was it too late to stop?
Like I said, I thought she enjoyed it, so I would make her happy, and I would do things to her. And
what kinds of things?
Fondle her.
Touch her?
Touch her, yeah, fondle, yeah.
So, if I were to ask all of you, none of you thought that you were causing harm at the time?
Not at the time.
So if you've been carrying the guilt, the shame, which is the true horror of thinking that you are to blame for your own abuse simply because it felt good, that is exactly what they wanted you to feel, so that you wouldn't tell. It is not your fault. We'll be right back. About that a bit, because the thing that has frustrated me over the years in trying to get parents to understand that first it's about seduction. It's about grooming and seducing your target. Am I correct? It's about grooming and seducing. And you choose your targets. So I think it would be really valuable for parents to understand how they're chosen. You've talked a little bit about that, David, about you look for the child that's neglected, you look for the child that's needy, you look for the child that isn't getting a lot of attention, which was the case with your victim. What else do you see in their eyes that lets you know that you can get away with it? Because nobody's choosing any child. I say this to all my girls at school. Nobody's choosing any child who has the confidence and the self-esteem and is going to, that they think is going to tell. Nobody's choosing anybody that they think is going to tell. Am I correct? All right. So what is it that you see in that child that allows you to believe you can get away with it?
I see anger in there, anger against their parents, retaliation against the parents. I see trust for them towards me.
Because I think what we need to clear here is that you couldn't victimize unless there was trust.
Right.
That's the thing that people don't understand. It only happens this way when there is trust, right? You couldn't do it unless there was trust. Okay.
And then I think that's why it continues to, because of that trust and relationship, they oftentimes don't yell, don't scream, don't tell right away, which reinforces their belief system.
And also because if the abuser is good, he is not causing pain. Everybody thinks that it's this horrible, painful thing, but each of you worked your victims to the point where you tried to make them feel good. Did you not?
Yes.
Yeah. We're going to take a break. How did you keep your victim from telling? What do you say to a 5-year-old to keep her from telling her mommy?
She just loved me. I think she loved me, and she knew that we'd get in trouble.
Did you say to her, you'll get in trouble or I'll get in trouble?
I told her one time that her daddy found out that he would beat me up and that I wouldn't be able to see her anymore. And that was a big thing right there.
That was enough.
That was enough because she didn't want to leave. I mean, she wanted to be with me.
What did you tell your victim?
That they'd take her away and she'd never see me again.
Did you say anything to your victims?
Just I loved them.
That you loved them?
That one seemed to work all the time.
What do you most want to tell parents? I know that's one of the intentions that you're doing this. So what do you most want them to know?
Be on the alert. You know, you don't have to mistrust everybody because there are people that just plain like myself. I love children, okay? But at least open your eyes and look around and see what's happening.
But if anybody had opened their eyes and looked around, would they have seen what was happening with you?
Yes.
An alert person would have, a person knowing what the signs are would have known that something was going on.
I believe they would have.
How?
Just cuddling her, having her sit on my lap, doing little things for her.
The amount of time and attention you were spending with
Amount of time and attention.
But then if you had been asked about it, you would have lied and said, I just love children.
Yes, I would. But who would they believe then? And now you've got to...
They would have believed you.
Well, would they?
And they're saying, yeah.
They're saying, yeah.
All of you've lied before and used your manipulative skills in order to con not just the children, but to also con their parents. So you're saying beware of that.
Oh, be definitely aware of it.
What do you most want to say to parents, Darren?
Pay attention to your children's cues, and you got to listen to your kids. When they tell you, someone touched me, you believe them, because kids don't lie about that stuff. And a lot of times, they'll be dismissed because they'll believe the adult instead of the child. Listen to the children. They don't make the stuff up.
Is there anything your victims could have done to stop you?
So, no.
Pardon me?
Told me no.
Told you no.
Do you think that would have really stopped you?
Maybe with one or two of them in the beginning. Not at the end, no.
Not at the end?
No, because my second victim did tell me no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything your victim, your 5-year-old victim, could have done to stop you?
No.
If she had told the first time?
That might have stopped me for a little bit, because when she told, it didn't stop me.
Is there anything that 5-year-old could have done to have stopped you?
Had she known more, yes, she could have. She'd just tell me, no, Grandpa. And I had so much love for her that I wouldn't have. That I feel in my heart, that's what I would have done.
Is there anything your daughter could have done to have stopped you?
She did. She turned me in. And I'm very proud of her for that. She's had every right to protect herself, and I'm glad she took that initiative to protect herself.
Listen to your child's cues, and if you think, listen to me now, if you think something is going on, you're saying to yourself, that doesn't feel right, or that seems a little weird, then it probably is. That's called instinct. That is the warning, and that's the sign, and that's what it feels like. So if you're a child watching this and it is happening to you, the best way to make it stop is to tell somebody. And if they don't believe you, you keep telling until somebody does. Because molesters do not want you to talk. Tell somebody today. We'll be right back. I think everybody thinks that sexual abuse is about the actual act itself, but what it really is changes who you are. It changes who you are when you've been sexually abused. I wanted to know if the child molesters I spoke with understood the extent of the damage and devastation they caused their victims. It started when you were 8 and she was 5. So when you're 14 and you vaginally rape her, and you're 15, and you're 16, and you're 17, and you're 18, and you're 19, and you're 20, what are you thinking about yourself? And how often is this abuse continuing?
2 or 3 times a week. And then sometimes it would slow down to maybe once a month.
When you would engage with your victim, did it make you feel more powerful?
Yes. The first time I orally copulated her and caused her to have an orgasm, I felt like I was the king of the world. Mm-hmm. How could anyone be better than me?
And how old was she and how old were you?
I was 12 or 13 and she was 9 or 10.
By this time you've convinced yourself she wants it.
I have myself so convinced that I'm having fantasies of us running away somewhere where we could live as man and wife, where no one would know we were related.
Would you say you cared for this person?
Yeah.
Would you say you loved her?
Absolutely.
What do you think you did to her? When you think about it, have you thought about it?
I have spent a lot of time thinking about it.
And what do you think you did to her?
I killed who she could have been. I murdered a person. And just because she's still alive today and walking around and breathing, and even because she's just starting to make a better person of herself, getting back in school, getting her life on track, that doesn't take away anything from what I've done.
Have you had contact with your victim?
Yes.
Since she told?
Yes. Mm-hmm. A few years ago, I was contacted by her therapist.
What has she said to you?
She told me she forgave me. And I have a real problem with that, because I don't think it's forgivable.
When I heard David say that he killed who she could have been, that was one of the most powerful things I've ever heard anyone, particularly a sex offender, say, because that is the absolute truth. When a child is abused, it changes who they are. It kills their spirit.